Hey guys, what's going on? And welcome to the Premier League Forum. We're a bit over the halfway mark in the Premier League, and I've decided to do a mid-season review.
Basically, how this is going to work is that we're gonna go through the table from last place to first and analyze each team's performance so far. So, starting off at the bottom of the table, we're gonna start with Hull City. So basically, Hull City started off in a really tough place at the start of the season, with Steve Bruce obviously leaving at the club at a very fragile time, with not many very like basically I think they've had less than 11 fit players at the time, and he left the club in a state which was not very good,
Yeah,
and they brought in Mike Phelan, who has tried to sort of steady the ship, but he did well in his first month, receiving the first Premier League Manager of the Month award, but then sadly was sacked during the Christmas period, and now they've hired in Marco Silva, who's had a past in, I think he was managing Sporting at one point,
and
and Olympiacos, and I think he went on a 17 game win streak at Olympiacos, something crazy like that. So it will be interesting to see how well he does in the Premier League.
yeah. If I think there's anyone to take them out of the relegation zone, will be Marco Silva. And I think even if they do get relegated, they'll continue with him as he's a great manager. And I mean, one player we have to point out is Rob Snodgrass. I mean, he's their top goal scorer, 7 goals, and he's done so much for them. And I think they'll be lucky they'll be lucky to keep him if they go down. But I'm sure a lot of teams are going to make an advance on him. And
Yeah,
also,
yeah.
since they're trying to sell the club, they haven't been able to make too many signings. They've only made small ones like Dave Marshall and Ryan Mason and Henriksen. And honestly, I feel like that's not enough to keep them out of the drop zone. But
Yeah,
hopefully they'll.
yeah, I feel Hull need a proven goal scorer, but I don't think anybody will be willing to come to them at this point, because they're basically nailed on for relegation. At this point in the
Yeah,
season, they just don't have enough points. But you never know. Like they could just do a Leicester and just win their last games at the end of the
yeah,
season. Of
exactly.
course, yeah,
Anyone can pull a Leicester.
yeah.
Um, up next, up next we have Swansea. Now Swansea are a team who are on their third manager of the season, Paul Clement. Obviously, they just fired Bob Bradley. I feel like they never should have hired Bob Bradley in the first place. I feel like if they're going to fire someone like Gideolin, Paul Clement is someone you should bring in, not Bob Bradley. And I feel like he was always kind of doomed to that club. But takes nothing away from him. He's a nice guy and he's a good manager. But yeah, so far they've won their most recent game with Paul Clement, and I feel like that there's positive things to come for them.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about Swansea. So Bob Bradley, um, brought in with basically no Premier League experience, no experience at the highest level of football. So what are your thoughts on that, Ian? What are your thoughts on Bob Bradley? Do you think he should have been brought in or?
Yeah, I mean, as I just said, I feel like Bob Bradley shouldn't have been brought in. I mean, he didn't have an up to par CV for the Premier League, and I feel like Paul Clement is someone who they should have brought in the first place. And I feel like he was always doomed. But I mean, he's a nice guy, so take
Yeah.
nothing away from him. One thing I did not, One thing I did not understand is why he was not playing Leroy Fair at his time at the club. I mean, he's their top scorer going to be
Sorry.
starting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what else? Swansea obviously. They're also the top scorer is Lorente with 6 goals, tied with Leroy Fair. Lorente, I've heard some rumors that he was going to Chelsea because of the previous time Antonio Conte worked with him at Juventus, and Lorente could be out of the club, which leaves them with no sort of recognized striker. No, they have strikers. They're just not the quality of Lorente, and so Swansea. Where do you think they'll finish in? Like, do you think they'll relegate or?
I mean, I think given their most recent performance, there's a chance they can come out of there because they do have some quality players. But obviously, they've conceded the most goals in the Premier League so far, so they really gotta sort out their defense. If
Yeah, I mean the because of Ashley Williams, he left during the summer transfer window. That was a big loss for them because he was their sort of master of the dark arts at the back. He was he was Yeah, he was a rock at the back for them, and they really miss him this season. But I think Paul Clement can do a decent job. He's had he's had experience at the top level, maybe not managing because he's always been assistant manager of Ancelotti at all the clubs he went to. But I feel like he could do a decent job. So I feel they might just survive relegation, but that's with a stretch.
Yeah.
Then we'll go to everybody's favorite manager, football genius David Moyes.
Sunderland. No, I mean Sunderland. They started off with the worst ever Premier League start in the history of the Premier League, which was just 2 points after something like 8 games. And I mean, I feel like they are so lucky that they have Defoe. Without them, they would be completely fucked. I mean, having a target man at such a low place in the at such a low place in the Premier League, someone who's scoring regularly like Defoe, they are so lucky to have him.
Yeah,
And they really need to hold on to him.
I know. Yeah, Defoe. They're really lucky to have Defoe. I mean, he's not for him at such like an old age. He's played in so many football clubs. He's been to the MLS. Everybody's sort of written him off. He came back to the Premier League, and for him to be still scoring that many goals at his age is just incredible. They'll be lucky to keep him after this transfer window because rumors have been talking about a £6 million bid from West Ham. Yeah, I don't know what they're thinking of that when they're bidding 9 million for Robert Snodgrass and Defoe in total when they're about to sign a 10 million.
I mean, if there's anyone they have,
10
if
million
there's anyone they have to
package
hold on,
player.
it's him.
Yeah. So he's definitely a key player for them. Without him, we can't even imagine what they'd be in the season.
Rob Moisey, can you see him being fired anytime in the future?
I feel if they were going to fire him, it would be before the Christmas period because I feel like I think now they just have to keep with him at the end of the season. I don't think that there's any point of sacking him at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously they've been cursed with injuries. Duncan Watmore was one of their key young rising stars, and he got an injury till the end of the season. So obviously that's a big blow for them.
Yeah, and also the likes of Djilibouji haven't really hit the ground running. Januzaj has been on and off this season, injured as well, just like most of their signings. They don't really have that much in defense apart from Kone, but he hasn't been that good either this season.
Yeah.
So Sunderland, I think they're pretty. I think they're going to relegate. I think they're going to get relegated.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's finally time. I mean, it's been coming for a while now.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's move on to Crystal Palace, just above the drop zone. Recently fired Alan Pardew and brought in Big Sam. Do you think Big Sam is the man for Palace?
Yeah, Big Sam is the man. Even though after his complete capitulation with England, I think he's never been relegated. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he's never been relegated in a Premier League season, so he's definitely had his experience at the top flight. I mean, Alan Pardew. I mean, technically. Crystal Palace have accumulated the least amount of points out of anyone in the any of the English divisions in 2016. So they've technically been the worst team in England. Alan Pardew, he's one of those managers that sort of you bring in. He's very short term. He gets the first year he gets some really good results.
He gets it.
But then the players just stop believing in him, and then it just all goes to shit. And
I mean. Also, I feel like Crystal Palace should definitely be higher when they are. I mean, they brought in some great players over the summer. Benteke, who's now their top goal scorer. Townsend, from Newcastle, who's also amazing. And Tompkins, centre-back. So, I mean, I feel like they should definitely be more stable than they are now. I really can't see them being relegated. And if they do, they're going to get raided in the summer. The likes of Wilfried Zaha.
Yeah, Wilfried Zaha is, again, a key player for them. Probably, I would say their best performer this season, even though he's not their top scorer. There was also a big loss. I would say last season their best player was Balassi. Again, he went to Everton, so that's a big loss for them this season. Townsend has been again on and off like most of their signings. Benteke has 8 goals this season in total. But Alan Pardew's biggest mistake, I feel, was that he never really organized their defense and. They just concede way too many goals. But I feel Sam Allardyce will organize them.
Yeah, Sam Allardyce will really. I feel like he'll whip them into shape.
Yeah. Okay, next one we have Middlesbrough. Aitor Karanka. I really feel that Middlesbrough are the most I would say technically the most average team in the Premier League.
Yeah,
I think they've drawn the most matches out of any team in the
and
Premier League so far.
and scored the least. They clearly have a striker problem. They've scored the least goals. I mean, Negredo hasn't really been playing up to par there, I feel.
Yeah.
I mean, 5 goals for him is kind of mediocre, and they brought him in for one reason only, and that's to score goals. But I mean,
Exactly.
hopefully new signing Rudy Gestede will bring some goals.
When he played for Aston Villa last season, when they were still here, he really impressed a lot of people. He's a very physical presence. He's good in the air. I think most of his goals were headed goals. Also, Darun is a I've actually never heard of him before the season, but when I watched him play, he certainly impressed me.
They're definitely when watching them play, they get themselves into the position to score, but they can never seem to finish.
Oh, the epitome of a Middlesbrough player right now at the moment is what's his name? The guy from Barcelona. What's his name? One sec. Oh yeah, Traore, Adama Traore. He is the epitome of a Middlesbrough player. He's amazingly pacey. He is like good skill overall, but when he just never has the end product. So I feel so Adama Traore, another key player for them. If he can start producing, I feel that Middlesbrough can pick up some points in the second half of the season. I don't think they'll get relegated. I think they have.
I feel like there's no real worry. Yeah, there's no real worry for them. But definitely, if they stay up, they got to sign some players in the summer, and also some have been complaining about their goalkeeper situation at the moment. You know, Valdez and Guzan, who's going to play between the two. I mean, Valdez is getting on, and so is Guzan a bit. Yeah. And Valdez, I mean, he's a good keeper, but he's very on and off, I feel, and I feel like in 1 or 2 seasons' time, it's going to be time to sign someone new for them.
Yeah, Valdez has had a few shockers this season. I mean, Guzan, is he really Premier League quality anymore? I don't think so.
Yeah, I know. Really after last season, it's kind of a shocker he had. I mean,
yes. So Middlesbrough, where do you think they'll finish?
I think they'll finish where they are now. To be honest, can't see them going any higher. Can't see them going any lower.
So you're saying 16th place finish for Middlesbrough?
Yeah, I'm saying I think that's about where they'll end up. I mean, I can't see them going any further.
Okay, so that's Middlesbrough. Okay, now we're on to Ian's favorite team, Leicester City.
Yeah, Leicester City. I mean, where do I begin? It has been a very weird year as a Leicester fan. I mean, we won the Premier League, and then now we're kind of struggling. I feel like we're kind of getting our old flair back now. I mean, 4 points from the last 2 Premier League games honestly isn't too disappointing. And I mean, as a Leicester fan, I mean, I'm not expecting too much. Like, I wasn't expecting them to finish in the top 7 even. I mean, I would have liked to be in the top 10 around Christmas, but I mean that's still, I feel like that's asking a lot as a Leicester player. But also, I mean, our top players from last season they just haven't been performing. Vardy, I mean, yes, he did score a hat-trick against City, but apart from that, he hasn't done much. And Mahrez, really, for me, he's having quite a shocker so far. One player, though, who I'd like to highlight for Leicester, one player who's really, I've seen him on and off the pitch making such a great effort, and we signed him last season, is Daniel Amartey. I mean, he's kind of like an N'Golo Kante. He's an unsung hero. I mean, he plays almost every game, and he's always up and down the pitch. He's everywhere. I mean, and he's a real pain. And I really like him as a player, and hopefully he'll do great things for us.
Yeah. So talk about Leicester. Like, what do you think is the big difference between last season, when you obviously started so well, and this season?
I mean, obviously, last season the teams were performing a lot less well, but also Leicester, there's just kind of I don't know how to describe it, there was kind of this motivation which we had last season, going into each game, it was there, but now it's not there as much. I mean, we're still probably hungover from last season's celebrations, but I mean, obviously we brought in some great signings, and most of them, apart from Slimani, has really performed for us. I mean, Nusa hasn't done too much. Mendy, he was injured for a very long time. And I mean, we just signed Ndidi, and hopefully Ndidi will. I'm hoping he's going to be one for the future. He looks like a great player, but he's got a lot to learn. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just hoping, I hope we really. I hope. I mean, I wouldn't mind finishing where we are now, but hopefully we can get a bit higher in the table. See what happens.
What I really think happened to Leicester, I think the reason why Leicester won the Premier League is because they sort of took it one game at a time. They didn't
Yeah,
really sort of like, oh, if
definitely.
we win this game, if we win that game, we're gonna be in this position. They said, okay, let's just focus one game at a time. And if you all of us remember that sort of that streak of games that they went on before the season, the season before they won the Premier League, and I feel they just took that form into that season, and then just took it game at a time. And then Vardy and Morris obviously had a partnership. If what I loved about Vardy and Morris that season is that when if Vardy didn't score, Morris would, and if Morris didn't score, Vardy would. So they sort of like
Yeah,
complemented each other well there.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah, they chipped in. Yeah,
that hasn't been there this season. That's the thing. Vardy and Morris, they had such a great link up last season,
yeah,
but I mean this season it just hasn't been happening. And
yeah.
you see, like in the Man City match, you see we can do it. I mean that spark can come back, but it's so like random at the moment. It's sporadic. Like it's not there at times, which is kind of a shame. But
Yeah. Mm. Yeah,
but yeah,
I feel also the N'Golo Kante has definitely been a
yeah,
huge loss for Leicester. Just I think there was some stat I saw that if N'Golo Kante was a Premier League team, so like saying all the games he's played in for Chelsea and Leicester, like he would that counted as a team, he would be top of the Premier League table for 2016 with the most amount of points. That just shows how crucial he is. He is all over the pitch at all times. His interceptions.
yeah,
He's a player that
yeah.
rarely gets highlighted, but well, not, no,
Yeah.
not he gets highlighted a lot, but before he wasn't
Yeah, I
there.
mean, definitely we'll
Yeah,
focus in on him later at Chelsea, but obviously, yeah, seeing him go was a real disappointment. But I mean, I'm glad for him. I'm glad he's moving on to better things.
yeah. So what will you be happy with? Where would you be happy if Leicester finished the season?
Leicester, honestly, I would really love to finish in the top 10, but I mean, as long as we don't get relegated, I won't be too disappointed. I mean, I don't expect much. I know a lot of Leicester fans are expecting a lot from the team, but I think that's kind of unfair because we don't have the players to compete against some of the top teams, and I think constantly like booing that like some weird they booed the players off the pitch a couple times this season. I think that's very unfair. Obviously, we're going to lose sometimes. I mean, we can't forget that. I mean, the season before we won the Premier League, we were so close to getting relegated, and we have to remember that, and we have to take it one game at a time, like last season. We can't think about the big picture. But yeah, I think we definitely won't get relegated. I hope we don't, and if we do, I mean, it'll be a real shame. But I think we're fine where we are now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So mid-table finish would be okay with you.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to Watford. I mean, Watford started off the season very well, but then they've kind of had a poor run lately. I mean, they've
Yeah.
they've gone without a win in five. Do you think Walter Mazzari should be feeling the pressure at Watford?
Well, yeah. I mean, everybody remembers the start of the season for Watford getting like big results: 3-1 against Man United at home. The big results. I think they drew. Did they draw against Chelsea or did they win? Let me check.
Yeah, that's some great result like that. It was.
Yeah, yeah. Anyways, yeah. So Watford. Walter Mazzari. I feel like he came into the Premier League thinking about playing the 3-5-2, which at the start worked out well for him because he's an Italian manager, and Italian managers historically like to play the 3-5-2. But now I feel like other teams have sort of like after playing them a couple of times, I feel some teams have sort of
Yeah, and I feel like
they found them out. They found
when
them
you're
out.
kind of a mid table team, like you shouldn't. I feel like three at the back is too risky.
Yeah,
In my
yeah,
opinion. And
yeah.
I mean, they do have some good centre backs. I mean, they have Prodel, Kabul, and stuff, but they don't have they don't have the centre backs Chelsea have, for example, where the 3-5-2 is working.
Yeah. But yeah, so Matsari.
Obviously,
So
yeah. Obviously, they. I mean, do you think if he continues like this, he's going to be fired? Because he said they had a 3-year plan, but I mean,
mhm,
clearly Enrique Sanchez Flores didn't, and I mean, they finished rather high for their
yeah.
first season in the Premier League.
Well, yeah. Well, seeing how sort of rash the Watford owner is after sacking what's his name Enrique Sanchez Kike Flores in his first season. Uh, because Watford finished quite high in that season. I feel like if Mazzari doesn't finish higher or equal to that position, I think he might get sacked.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I feel like they also are struggling to find their goal scorer. Their highest scorer is Capu with 5 goals. I mean,
Yeah, who's a midfielder?
Troy. Yeah, exactly. And Troy Deeney hasn't been playing exactly like. Obviously, he just got that record at Watford, so well done to him. But I mean, he hasn't been playing. Well, he's not. He's a shadow of himself last season, and
Igalo has been terrible this season.
Yeah.
He's been offered to China 3 times, I think. He's just, I think he's just been the definition of a like half season wonder.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, half season wonder. I think that's a new word. I don't know if that was. But also they brought in a very good striker from Anderlecht at the start of the season called Okaka, and I mean he's only played 3-4 games and he's scored 2-3 goals, and I mean he's just been riddled with injury, which is kind of a shame. But I think he's big, he's strong, he's muscular. I mean he's big. He's the description. No, he's definitely like when he's fully fit, I think he's going to be a real threat, and I think he'll definitely do well at Watford.
He's quite old, isn't he, Okaka?
Yeah. Yeah, he is, and that's why it's also good to have some experience, because clearly we can see that's working.
He's 27.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But and also they brought in that young player Isaac Success, who's amazing, and Pereira. So they made the right things. They just gotta get back to scoring goals.
Yeah. So I think Watford have the correct players. I think they need some additions in the January transfer window. I think they might need a new centre back, maybe to partner with Kabul.
I mean, also Mazzari said their squad depth was paper thin. I mean, don't you? I think that's a bit harsh. I think they have players.
Yeah. Okay, so where do you think they'll finish this season?
I mean, I can see them finishing between 12th and 9th, somewhere around that area. So like mid-table again, like Leicester. I can see them somewhere there. But obviously, their owners really wants them to push for he's really stubborn, I think, and he's pushing for a hopefully top 7 finish. But I definitely can't see that happening.
Yeah, and not with the season they've had so far, definitely. West Ham,
yeah.
Oh.
Slapping. Big slap. Slap. Do you think Slaven should be worried about his job at West Ham?
Definitely. I mean, compared to the season they had last year, I feel Slaven Bilic is definitely sort of. I feel like he's a good manager, but he's just been let down with his squad. I feel what happened was that the players after last season they thought that they were sort of they're better than they are. They thought they're better than they are, and they think that I'm too good for West Ham, and there's not really that team feeling anymore that they had last season.
Exactly.
I feel like Slaven Bilic is a good manager. He proved that last season. I just think that the players have sort of gave up on him.
Yeah, they definitely. Do you think? Can you see Payet leaving?
Payet. Payet. What was the game? Yeah, they lost 5-0 at home to Man City in the FA Cup this weekend. Payet was on the bench for some reason, and after the match, if you went on his Twitter account and you went onto his tweets, he was favoriting many tweets from Marseille fans, talking about how he doesn't deserve to how West Ham doesn't deserve him, etc. So his head's clearly in the wrong place. I feel like maybe not in January, but in the summer he'll probably move on. He doesn't have much left in his career, so he'll probably move on to a bigger club.
Yeah, whoever. Yeah, who knows? Who knows what will happen? But yeah, and also I feel like their signings. Obviously, they made a couple good ones. They got Adjei Ayew and they got Fekuli, but I mean, then again, there have been some big misses like Zaza. Should we talk about that boy?
Zaza,
the man,
the
legend.
I mean Zaza. I think he's definitely the worst. Yeah, the worst Premier League signing for this season.
Oh God!
I mean, I don't. What were they thinking? I mean, after that penalty against Germany. I mean, and they also signed him on a contract that said basically they pay him as he goes on. So let's say he plays a match and he gets paid, but now they're not willing to pay him because they figured out that he's terrible. So yeah, there was
Yeah,
just a
exactly.
disaster of a signing. He's
I
going
mean,
back to
yeah, that was
Juventus. Yeah,
wasn't
actually
that,
Slaven Bilic confirmed that Zaza is going back to Juventus. I think it's
yeah.
during
Well,
the
you see,
January transfer
that's a
window.
sign.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like they definitely should be signing more players and
yeah,
definitely also scoring more goals. I mean, they've only got like 23 goals so far. They need to find you know they need to find more goals. I mean, Antonio 8 goals. I mean, he used to be a defender or midfielder,
yeah.
and he's a top. Obviously, he's scoring great goals, but I feel like that's kind of a for your midfielder to be your top scorer. I still feel like that's not acceptable for a
Yeah,
team like West Ham.
I think he has the most headed goals in Europe's top five leagues this season, which is quite shocking when they have the likes of Andy Carroll playing on the bench and they're relying on
Yeah,
him. Yeah. What else? Andre Ayew, obviously he came in from Swansea. He got a big injury at the start of the season, and now he's just coming back. Faguli has been a flop. Then they signed that guy from Turkey. What's his name?
yeah.
Um,
Obviously. What do you think about the recent Fekuli red card with Mike Dean?
yeah. Okay. Well,
We got to
we'll
talk
talk
about
about
Mike Dean at some
that.
point.
Yeah,
We got
we'll
to
talk
talk.
about. Yeah, we'll talk about a bit. We'll talk about the referees a bit after, but yeah, definitely not a red card.
Yeah. It
Definitely
got
not a red card.
overturned, which was good. It got
Yeah,
overturned, which was good.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, so definitely not a red card for
So
Faguli.
now moving on to
Yeah.
to Burnley. I mean, Burnley were in the Premier League 2 seasons ago. They went straight back down, and honestly, I'm pretty shocked with their performance so far. It's been great. It's been above par. I mean, I predicted for them to be when I predicted my bottom three, I predicted them in it, and they definitely proved me wrong. And I'm kind of happy for them. I'm happy for Sean Dyche. He's a very nice, honest manager, and I hope they stay up
Yeah.
this year.
Burnley, who do they have? They have Andre Gray, who's been within the goals this season, 5 goals for him.
Yeah, they've just sort of had.
Yeah,
What are
just
your
scored.
thoughts, by the way, on Joey Barton coming back to Rangers, back to Burnley? His
Back to
short
Burnley.
spell at
I
Rangers.
mean, he can definitely give them that bit of steel in midfield. I feel he's. I mean, after how it ended at Rangers for him, I feel he can come back and give Burnley some much needed depth in
I think
midfield.
I honestly I don't understand why he left in the first place. I mean,
Who
they just got
Rangers?
promoted. Yeah,
Rangers.
no, I don't understand why he left Burnley in the first place.
Oh yeah, Burnley. Yeah.
That was, but also, I mean, I feel like a lot they wanted to make signings, but I feel like they couldn't because a lot of teams saw how they'd gotten relegated in over the past couple of seasons. They've been relegated twice, and I feel like a lot of
Up and
teams,
down, up and down.
yeah, a lot of. I mean, they've only really signed Jeff Hendrick for 10 million, and he's been good so far, in my
Yeah.
opinion. He's
Oh,
been solid.
but I've also been quite impressed with the other striker, Vokes. I
Yeah,
feel
but
he's done quite well this season. I mean, he's been playing with Wales for quite a while now. Yeah, so he could definitely like every time I watch him play, he's been quite impressive. Especially that performance against Liverpool where they won. They got a
yeah.
shock
Obviously,
result.
also
Yeah,
yeah, away
yeah,
record. I mean, they haven't won a game like Leicester. I'm not being a hypocrite here or anything, but like Leicester, I mean, they haven't won one game away from home.
yeah.
And yeah, out of their losses, they've lost 8 at home and lost eight away from home and lost only 3 at home. So I mean, they really got to improve like away from their own stadium.
Yeah, but I feel like if their season target for this season is just to stay up and
Yeah,
not get relegated, as long as they win like most of their home games, I feel like they can
yeah,
definitely stay up.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like they're not too put off by their away. I feel like as long as they're staying above out of relegation, it's
Yeah.
great for them.
Stoke City, Mark Hughes obviously.
Mark Hughes, this is exactly what we expected from Stoke to be where they
Yeah,
are now, mid-table.
yeah.
You know, who has been your favorite player so far from Stoke?
I hate to say it, but Joe Allen. I mean, Joe Allen
Yeah,
has
I mean,
been yeah.
what was that
Yeah,
the other day? He got nominated for Team of the Year or
yeah.
something.
I think it was the UEFA Team of the Year. He got
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
If
Jesus
you told me
Christ.
if you told me that last season, I would have I would have laughed at
Yeah,
you. But
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so
And
Martinez, yeah, is it
they
his
made
fourth
some.
season in charge or third?
Yeah, something. I mean, obviously they always kind of get off to a rocky start, but then they pick up a bit. And I feel like, I mean, yeah, they did that this season, like the last 3 seasons, and I feel like they're going to finish roughly around. They finished like the past 3 seasons or something in ninth place, and I feel like they'll continue to this trend, which I don't think they're too put off by. But obviously, also they made some good signings over the summer, like bringing in Martins Indy in centre back, and because you could
Yeah,
see they're a bit
definitely. Yeah,
unstable
yeah.
back. But also one signing who has been, I mean, Wilfred Boney has been really, really disappointing for Stoke. I mean, when you bring in a player like Boney from Manchester City, you're expecting him to be scoring for you. You know, you're expecting him to be above the
Yeah,
team,
yeah,
but
yeah,
far he's been horrible. And I mean, I won't blame City for even selling him
yeah.
to another club.
Yeah, he wasn't playing any games. I feel like he should have never left Swansea in the first place. I mean, if you're joining a team that has Aguero playing as striker, most of it, like you're just never going to be a consistent starter. And well, what are your thoughts on the recent resurgence of Peter Crouch? I mean, recently he's been scoring.
I mean, obviously, as an Englishman, you know, I'm always gonna love Peter Crouch. He's one of my favorite players, and I'm honestly every time he scores, even if he scored against Leicester, I'd be happy for the guy because like he's you can see he's a nice player, and like
Yeah.
I don't know, he's just got limbs all over the place. But yeah, no, hopefully, you know, he continues his run in form, and obviously they've got a bit of problem with the keeping situation. Lee Grant, apparently Derby County want to bring him back, but he doesn't want to leave. And if they leave, I mean, all they have is Shea Given, who's a good keeper, but he's getting up now, and
I,
Butland
s-
needs to get back
I,
from injury.
I swear they signed they signed him on a new contract. No.
Yeah, maybe they did. Maybe they did. Yeah. Who Stoke or Derby?
No,
Derby.
Lee Grant for Stoke.
Yeah, I mean he was on loan from Derby, but I guess
Oh
maybe he did.
no, 4 days ago, Lee Grant. Yeah, Stoke City agreed £1.3 million deal for Lee Grant to Derby.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, good. That's good for him, I guess, because you could tell he wanted to stay. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
but he's definitely their second keeper when Butland comes back.
yeah.
But obviously a great keeper.
Yeah. Speaking of keepers, let's just take a little break from the teams. And who do you think have been the standout keepers this season for in the Premier League?
For me, obviously, I think Courtois has kept the most clean sheets.
Yeah,
He's been really good. Obviously, De Gea hasn't been disappointing either,
yeah,
or Lloris. Obviously, those are three keepers you always expect to be strong.
yeah,
And then there are some keepers. We'll definitely talk about them a bit more later. But obviously, you know, Liverpool, they're having a bit of a goalkeeper crisis over there,
yeah.
and Man City, Bravo has just
I
not
think
been.
one player we forgot to mention when talking about Sunderland is Jordan Pickford. I mean,
Yeah,
he's been
Jordan
saving
Pickford.
he's been saving them so many points this season.
Yeah, I mean,
Every game he's put like saving. I think his average save ratio per game is something like 3 points.
yeah.
Yeah, three something, which is absolutely great for him. I think he's a great young
Oh,
keeper.
yeah.
Yeah,
Obviously, him getting injured was such a shame. But I mean, you can see he's definitely a future England goalkeeper. I mean, like
yeah.
you can see he pulls off, and not only does he pull off a lot of saves, he pulls them off at the crucial moments.
So yeah, who do you think is going to be England's starting keeper for the next 10 to 15 years, Ian? Butland or Pickford?
Honestly, I would say at this point in time, I'd say Butland because we've seen more of him and we've seen that he's a very reliable keeper. I haven't seen him from as far as I know, I haven't seen him make any errors. Whereas Jordan Pickford, even though he's made some amazing stops and he's been playing amazing, I've seen him make one or two errors, and we've only seen him for about half a season. But hopefully, you know, he continues this amazing run in form, and yeah, I think Sunderland would be very lucky to hold on to him in the summer.
Yeah, definitely. I think, but in my opinion, I think Pickford will be better than Jack Butland because so far I think Jack Butland's had some two like quite big injuries in his career, which is not really ideal for a young player like him. Could definitely stagnate his career. While Jordan Pickford's only on the way up, and if he doesn't have any injuries from this point on, I think Jordan Pickford could definitely be England's number one ahead of Jack Butland.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to the teams. Now we have Southampton. So would you like just to talk about a bit of Southampton?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, one quote which I think kind of defines them was from True Geordie, and that was that I mean, it doesn't really matter who they sell, who they buy, or what manager they have. They always seem to do well and finish in the top 10. That's what I like about them. I think Claude Puel has been doing a great job so far. Obviously, they've recently just lost 3 games in a row, but I think that won't last. As they're probably a bit overwhelmed with the centre back situation with
Yeah,
Jose,
definitely. Yeah.
and Jose Fonte just handing in his transfer request. Do you think Virgil van Dijk will follow him out of the club?
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough to be sort of concentrated when two of your main sort of center backs haven't are sort of have uncertain futures at the club. I mean, Virgil van Dijk definitely for me is the better of the two. He's been linked to Liverpool, Chelsea, Man City, United. All those four teams could certainly benefit from him. Jose Font obviously is pretty much nailed on to leave this January transfer window. He sent it in a transfer request. I mean, Southampton. I think they're good. I think they're a great. I think they're the best team in the Premier League, one of the best academies in the Premier League as well. They don't really rely on anyone or any manager. They sort of function on their own. But also, I feel like sort of Charlie Austin. He's been really unlucky to get injured this season.
Yeah, definitely. He was in such
And
good form before the injury, and I mean now they're struggling to score goals because he's gone.
yeah. And then there's they had signings some Norwich.
And Højbjerg and
So
Val.
they had Nathan Redmond and Højbjerg. Nathan Redmond has been okay so far. He scored a couple of goals here and there. What else? Yeah, so Højbjerg is a midfielder. I've only seen him play a couple of times for Southampton, but he's been impressing me also. Jordi Clasie, which was signed 2 summers ago. I think he's finally sort of shaping up to be a good Premier League midfielder.
Yeah.
Following his move from Feyenoord. So I think Southampton. A stat which is crazy for Southampton, considering the changes that have gone on in their club.
Yeah, definitely.
They finished above their last season's place for 3 seasons in a row now, so they've been constantly improving with managers leading them, such as Pochettino and Koeman, who are both quality managers. And I think, especially for Koeman, I think Southampton have made him look better than he actually is. Especially because right now, obviously, we'll talk about Everton a bit later, but right now they're not performing too well. So yeah, Southampton, I think they're a good mid-table to sort of higher up in the table side. I think they'll do well this season.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like Claude Puel now will probably stay there for a while compared to. I think it's really his job just to continue from where Koeman left off and keep Southampton in the top 10. I think that's their aim. And hopefully they continue to perform.
Yeah. So moving on, Bournemouth. Bournemouth, obviously, I feel. So let's just talk about Bournemouth. So, how do you think they've done this season, Ian?
Yeah, Bournemouth, they've been performing so well. I mean, they've shown us they can compete against the top teams like Liverpool and Chelsea. I mean, they're putting in some really great performances, and Eddie Howe has been doing great stuff for the club. They've been playing some great football. And their top scorer Wilson is now starting to get more into form, and definitely if they make a few more signings, I can honestly see them holding this place in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean Bournemouth has had some fantastic results this season, particularly against Liverpool. Obviously Nathan Ake, one of the crucial players, and they have Simon Francis has been playing well this season. Obviously they have. Wilshere on loan from Arsenal, he's been fantastic. But I think what the thing they have that some teams in Premier League don't is just pure team spirit. I feel nobody really thinks that one player is better than the other. They sort of play as a team.
Yeah,
and Eddie Howe has sort of instilled this mentality into them. So I think Bournemouth have done fantastic this season.
And I mean as a Leicester fan, they kind of remind me of the Leicester last season. Like they take it game by game.
Yeah.
And they show heart when they play. I mean, obviously they're not winning every game, but they have a very young squad, and I can see Bournemouth definitely rising up in the table in future years.
Yeah,
with the players they have.
And it also remind just like Leicester last season, they play great football. I would say they play some of the probably the best football out of the smaller teams in the Premier League this season.
And how crucial do you think it is that Ake has just been called back to Chelsea?
Whew, I mean, Ake has been one of those key players for Bournemouth this season. I'm not sure
Yeah, scoring.
who they're going to
Not only has
replace
he
him. Yeah, continue.
not only I mean I just would like to say one thing, like not only has he been defending well, but I mean he's also been scoring sometimes. Like he scored
Yeah.
3 goals. But
Yeah, I mean, obviously fantastic for a player of his age to be getting consistent game time. But I feel the Chelsea move could sort of So I mean, going back to Chelsea could certainly stunt his career. I mean, this season he's been getting consistent game time in the Premier League. I really don't see how he fits in into that Chelsea defense apart from maybe replacing Marcus Alonso, who's been sort of an average player. But if Conte wants to play him ahead of Marcus Alonso, then that's a great move, I feel.
yeah, but I mean I feel like I feel like he definitely won't be starting for Chelsea. And I mean I feel like if he's starting at a mid-table club. And he's playing regular football at the age he's at. I mean, I feel like he should just stay there. I think he was doing great stuff at Bournemouth, and I hope that form he doesn't lose that form when he goes back to Chelsea and he's on the bench.
And also Jack Wilshere again showing Arsenal that they might have actually needed them this season. I mean, now Coughlin's injured, Santi Cazorla's out for a long time.
Yeah,
and they can't really call him back, so he's sort of showing his worth at Bournemouth this season.
Yeah. Definitely. I think that's why he had options to move abroad, but I think one of the reasons why he chose to stay in England is because he wanted to show Wenger that he was still worth something and he could still play.
Exactly. And also, I'm not sure, this maybe just a sort of a theory I have, but I feel maybe Arsenal sort of allowed him to move to Bournemouth because they've already sort of contacted Eddie Howe to be their next manager. I'm not saying this is true. This is a possible theory. So maybe Eddie Howe has Jack Wilshere in mind for next season if Arsene Wenger decides to leave. So that's also possible.
Yeah, definitely. I can see Eddie Howe taking over Arsenal. He's a great manager, and he deserves it.
Yep. Okay, so next team. We have is West Brom, who nobody really expected them to be this high up.
I mean, I would just like to say one thing. I would like to say that Tony Pulis, honestly, the fans are kind of frustrated with him, and he kind of pisses me off. Because at the start of the season, he was saying all this shit like, yeah, he's kind of a fucking wanker, honestly. Like, at the start of the season, he was saying like, oh, we don't have the players to compete and stuff like that. I mean, look, they're in freaking 8th place. Their players are in fact better than the players Leicester season had when they won the title last season. That is no excuse, and I feel like Pulis is trying to kind of lower the West Brom fans' expectations so that when they do well, they're surprised. But I mean, they're not falling for it; they're not retarded, and definitely they have some great players. They have some great players, and they've made some great signings. So he should definitely not be saying that.
Yeah. So West Brom. So key players for them: Macaulay, Rondon. Rondon is, I feel, is a fantastic player to have as a target man up front. He's scored many goals this season.
Such a strong player. And what do you think about their signing Chadli? I mean, he's been playing pretty well for West Brom so far.
Yeah, I feel Chadli is one of the more underrated players in the Premier League, especially what he's done in Tottenham. There's also Robson Kanu. After his impressive Europe performance, they've signed him on a free transfer, which definitely can't be a bad move. He just
scored and hopefully he continues to score, because he obviously we saw how he can be in Euro 2016, and hopefully he continues like this because he's a great player.
Obviously, I need Tony.
I mean, he was.
Yeah.
You can continue. No.
Yeah, so obviously Tony Pulis' teams are obviously very hard to break down. They're very solid defensively.
Yeah.
They're really hard to beat at home. The fans are always best. I rate West Brom fans quite highly. So yeah, I feel like they have all their sort of signs for success this season, unless some sort of big injury happens to one of their key players.
And I think also if Tony Pulis does leave, I think in some ways good riddance, because I mean he's just I really don't like him. I really don't like him, and I mean I would like to see someone in there who's motivated, who's
I think they'll finish. Maybe I don't think they'll finish eighth. I think they'll go down. They'll climb down a few spots. But
yeah. I mean,
so
I would honestly love to see West Brom in Europe because I mean I feel like it's always kind of cool to see a new team, in the Europa League or Champions League. Like I felt it was quite cool to see Southampton in the Europa League this year, and obviously Leicester in the Champions League.
yeah. Um, so West Brom so far a solid season for them. Tony Pulis, although he's quite
Totally
defensive,
clueless. Get the fuck out.
although he doesn't play the best football,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
he's quite good. I maybe you don't rate him, but I rate him quite highly. Well,
Yeah.
not I mean highly
Anyway,
for what he is. So yeah, I think West Brom.
yeah, for what he is.
Yeah, yeah. So
Anyway, moving on.
yeah. So Everton, you want to talk a bit about Everton?
Ronald Koeman, the new manager. How do you think he's been doing so far as Everton manager?
Uh, I mean, so far I haven't been impressed at all, to be honest with him. I feel that last season, although Roberto Martinez obviously wasn't great, I feel that Ronald Koeman so far has there's definitely some key problems in his team, especially attacking wise. I mean, they're basically relying completely on Lukaku to score all their goals.
Yeah, I feel
Um,
like the only place where they really are. Obviously, I feel like Everton, they are a very strong side, but I feel like the only place where they are weak is in goal. Stecklenburg, yes, he has had a few good performances, but as a keeper in general, I just find him so frustrating to watch. I mean, he's one of those keepers who gets his hand to the ball and it always trickles, he gets fingertips to it, but it always goes in. And he's one of those keepers who is like what could have been, but it's never. He's not like I feel like he'll never be a top keeper.
yeah. I mean, also Stecklenburg. He's had a one good performance. I remember he saved two penalties against Man City, which was quite good. Um, but Stecklenburg obviously he's been sort of from Southampton. He played at Southampton at one point. He's now at Everton. He's sort of moving around clubs. He played at Fulham. Um,
Yeah,
did he play at Fulham?
for the price they got him. Yeah, he did. For
Yeah,
the price they got him for something like 850K, not even a
yeah,
million. I mean, that's still a good
yeah.
for almost any player in the Premier, bring him to the Premier League.
Yes. Moving further forward down the back line, they have Ashley Williams, who after sort of a big move for him going from Swansea to Everton, I think he's probably one of the most underrated defenders in world football. I mean, for what he brings, he's quite good.
Yeah,
He's
I
very
mean,
physical. He's experienced at the back. He can chip in with a goal or two sometimes. Just like Rio Ferdinand. Rio Ferdinand calls him one of the most underrated center backs, and I feel like Everton is a good team for him. I think there's just apart from
yeah,
Leighton Baines, I just don't rate any of their defenders, especially Coleman. I don't see what people see in Coleman. I don't think he's that good. Then they
yeah,
have Funes Mori, who again is
yes. I mean,
yeah,
the defense previously, I feel like it was a bit riddled. Like as you saw last season, they didn't do too well,
yeah,
and I feel like it was partly the defense's fault because Jagielka and Funes Mori, they're both good centre backs, but they
yeah,
both on occasion make errors. Williams is so reliable;
yeah,
he's like a wall at the back, and he just provided the stability they
yeah,
need.
yeah. Then the midfield, Ross Barkley. I mean, he is one of the most inconsistent players I've ever seen.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Sometimes he's completely unplayable. Other times his first touch is like a brick wall. Like it's just like he's one of the most inconsistent
Yeah,
players I've seen. He
yeah,
definitely needs
and
to step up the game. I mean, he's always that one player that everyone thinks, oh yeah, he has potential, but he's getting older now, and he's been in the Premier League for a while, and
yeah,
I just don't see him progressing so far.
yeah. It's kind of like an El Shaarawy situation
Yeah,
where everyone's. But also, big disappointment for them was Balassi's injury because I mean before that he was starting. I mean he got a few assists and he scored one goal, and then
yeah.
he's injured till the end of the season. So that's obviously a big shame for them.
Yeah, definitely. So then we also have Lukaku, who I think definitely is their best player. Although he sometimes can be quite frustrating to watch because again he's one of those players, one of those strikers with a bad first touch. he can, but his finishing ability is one of the best in the Premier League, I would say. I would definitely like to see him. He's rumored to be signing a new contract with Everton, which I don't see the point in that because I feel like it's time for him to move on to a bigger club.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'm
yeah,
sure so many bigger clubs would love to have him,
yeah,
honestly.
definitely.
But now moving on to your club, Cheers, Manchester United. So
Yeah.
what are your comments on the? Obviously, they've been in a very good run of form lately. 6 games won, but they're still in sixth place. What are your thoughts on the season so far?
You just had to, just had to sneak that in, didn't you?
You know, but what are your thoughts on the season so far for them?
Well, starting off the season, I've had very high hopes for the team. I mean, we've brought in three world-class players:
Hmm.
Mkhitaryan, Ibrahimovic, and obviously Paul Pogba, the most expensive players in world football, the most expensive player in world football. After sort of the first couple of games, I think things were going quite positively. We were winning games. We were not playing the best of football, but we were sort of
Hmm.
grinding out results. Then sort of Bailey was playing really well. Ibrahimovic was in the goals. He won us the Community Shield early on in the season. Paul Pogba
Yeah.
was just coming into the squad. He had no preseason, so we were just waiting for him to get started and sort of start moving on. Then so we were winning games, and then we sort of hit this bit of we sort of what happened to us was that after the Leicester match which we won 4-1.
You did.
Yeah, which we won 4-1. We went on this sort of shocking run of results where we would just draw, lose, win, draw. So it was very inconsistent. But what was the most frustrating for me is that we were playing much greater football, and I feel that opposition fans weren't appreciating the football we were playing because all they heard was, "Oh, haha, Pogba, 89 million. He hasn't done anything." So yeah, I feel like after those results against Burnley, West Ham,
Yeah.
Stoke, all these results at home, if we would
Yeah.
have gotten all 3 points, and Arsenal as well, I feel we were robbed in that game as well. And Everton, like giving away the silly penalty at the end for Fellaini, I feel like if we would have gotten all 3 points in those games, which in all of those games I think we definitely deserved, I think we would
Yeah.
be
And
much better in the season.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. I mean, from a neutral point of view, I can see they're playing this season. The football they're playing is much better than what they're doing under Van Gaal and under Moyes. So I think it's only a matter of time. Maybe not this season, but I think that next season they could really be title contenders.
Well, actually, I feel okay. Maybe that's I'm looking at this through a quite biased view, but I actually think that uh, due to the amount of points we made up in our run of 6 games in the Premier League and 7 games in actually in the Premier League and 8 overall of wins. I think we made up so much points on the opposition teams, such as like Spurs, Liverpool, even Chelsea.
Yeah,
At this point, I think the title may not be realistic, but I feel like it's definitely achievable if we keep on playing like this and we just keep on
yeah,
grinding results. Again, we have to look at what Leicester did when
yeah,
they won the title. We have to keep going and keep winning matches one
yeah,
game at a time.
taking it one game at a time, and I feel like that's what they're doing right now. Who has been your maybe not best player overall, but who's been your favorite player so far for United this
So
season?
far this season, for me, it definitely has to be uh, Pogba because what he's been what we've been lacking in the midfield for like since ever since I would say Paul Scholes left. He's been sort of that creative, but yet sort of slightly defensive midfielder, such as Paul Scholes, who's been sort of he's very physical, unlike Paul Scholes. I agree with that, but he's been so his physical presence in the midfield has been so crucial for us in games, especially in the latter stages. For example, the Crystal Palace game, like the goal that we scored at the end, it was all due to Pogba. He muscled off one of their midfielders and just passed it through to Ibrahimovic, who again has been a very key player this season for us, especially with all the goals he's been scoring. I mean. He scored at this point in the season. He scored more than our top scorer last season, which was Martial. So definitely Ibrahimovic. Although he's sometimes quite frustrating to watch, because he misses a lot of like easy chances. He could have been on. Probably he should have been top scorer if he put those easy chances away. Mkhitaryan, obviously, very frustrating start to the Premier League for him. Not playing, sort of Mourinho telling him to work harder, etc. But now, as soon as Mourinho put him back in the team, um, I feel like he's been one of our standout players. Obviously, the
Yeah,
amazing scorpion kick goal that he
yeah,
scored against Middlesbrough. Um, then there's Bay,
yeah,
who had a fantastic start, but then he's been injured, sort of in and out of the team. But definitely potential for him there to be our starting center back. Well, I think he's going to be our starting center back after he comes back from the African Cup of Nations.
yeah,
And also, I would like to just to mention Wayne Rooney. I feel what Mourinho has done this season is that he's sort of he did what like the previous two managers have been unable to do, is that he removed Wayne Rooney from the team without causing sort of too much noise in the press. He sort of took him out slightly to the side and said, "Okay, you're not going to be starting for the season too many times." And Wayne Rooney sort of took it like not casually, but like he's accepted it that he's not the player he once was. So I think Mourinho's man management this season has been fantastic. Apart from, there's still some players that I would like to see playing better, like Luke Shaw. He's been sort of in and out of the team again, but the season's looking optimistic after a tough start.
yeah. Definitely, definitely. Yeah, that describe. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Obviously, it was a bit rash of me to say before next season. So I think they're still in with a shout, and definitely top three is definitely there. Like
Yeah,
definitely from
yeah,
United, and yeah. I mean, I can see them definitely in coming weeks going above Arsenal, we should go and talk about now.
yeah.
Um, Now, Arsenal, for me, honestly, this season I think personally, they've been kind of disappointing
Hmm.
with the results they're getting. I think it's just another classic season for Arsenal where they finish. I know it's tossed around a lot and it's a and I know it annoys Arsenal fans to hear it a lot, fourth place,
Yeah.
but I honestly see them finishing around fourth place this season.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
do you think there's been rumors about Sanchez leaving? I personally don't think he will.
Mhm.
Do you think he'll be leaving the club?
I think Sanchez is definitely feeling frustrated at Arsenal, as is Ozil. I mean, I feel like they're just tired of the stuff that they have to keep up with. I mean, they're clearly a class above all the other players in the Arsenal team. I mean, if Arsenal want to. I feel like if Arsenal want to develop into the great team that they think they are, they need to keep Ozil Sanchez at all costs.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel I've heard some rumors that Sanchez is closer to signing a contract more than Ozil is, but I mean, I think Arsenal just need to give whatever the player asks them. I mean,
Yeah, definitely.
300k, 350k. I mean, they have to keep him at all costs.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think about their? I also feel like their signings, especially. I mean, we got to talk about their signings have been. Mustafi has been good, I think, but
Yeah,
Perez and
yeah,
Zaka have been a bit underwhelming, especially Zaka giving
yeah.
away penalties, getting red cards. He's kind of stubborn. I personally, he's not my favorite player.
Yeah, I mean, Mustafi has been definitely crucial for him this season. I think Koscielny has made Mustafi look better than he actually is, but that's just my opinion. I also think
Yeah,
that Mustafi, well, like not, I don't think that, but Mustafi is whenever he started for Arsenal, they've never lost a game, so that's obviously he's quite a crucial player for them. Shaka, I feel that he's a player who is overrated by Arsenal fans, but is also um, but I feel like he's a player who definitely has potential. I feel like he's not a. I think that he's a player that's crucial for the Arsenal team, but maybe
yeah,
only when he's partnered with a more creative like midfielder, because they play like sort of two holding midfielders. So if they play Xhaka and Coquelin, I feel like they have just absolutely no creativity in that midfield. They all they do is like they pass backwards. Apart from Xhaka, who can chip in with maybe a long pass or sort of a long shot, but that's it. And Xhaka, I mean, they knew what they were getting. I mean, if you look past his Mönchengladbach career, he was getting consistent red cards. He's a quite physical player. He's obviously from Albanian roots, with his brother who also plays for Albania. I mean, yes, Perez from Deportivo. Um, he's been okay. When he's come down, he scored a couple of goals. Actually a great goal against. He scored a great goal against Bournemouth in their
yeah,
3-0 comeback. Um, yeah, so I mean,
yeah,
Arsenal, they are what they are.
yeah,
They play great football. They always play great football, but I feel like
yeah,
I think they need to just. They definitely need to tie down Sanchez and Ozil to new contracts,
yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah.
And also, what I would like to
Um,
mention about Arsenal is that Petr Cech, like I've been watching him recently, and I think he's not that good anymore. I think they might be needing a new keeper,
yeah, I mean,
maybe
he is
next
getting
season.
on. He's
Yeah,
getting old,
yeah,
to be fair. Um, yeah, hope. I mean, he's always going to be a legend in football. But yeah, obviously he's getting on a bit, and he's getting a bit old.
yeah.
And definitely they can't have Ospina as their first keeper. He's not good enough.
I actually rate Ospina quite good. I mean, like whenever he's come in for Arsenal, he's been quite good. But yeah, I don't think he's a starting keeper for them necessarily.
Yeah,
They might need to bring on someone younger, maybe as we mentioned before, Pickford or someone like that. But yeah, Arsenal. I think they'll finish where they usually finish. I don't think they'll win the league. I think
yeah,
maybe third or fourth place.
yeah, definitely. But anyway, moving on to Manchester City. Now, Manchester City were a team who, at the start of the season, I thought after like the first 10 games, I thought, okay, Manchester City have won the Premier League. This is their season. But suddenly they sort of dropped off in form,
Yeah,
and recently they haven't been playing as well. Pep Guardiola kind of. On matches when he was in an interview the other day, he had kind of a tantrum. It was
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
weird.
yeah. Yeah, I noticed that definitely. And then there was also um, the in terms of Pep Guardiola playing for being their manager. I feel like yeah. Sorry, Ian. Continue.
Yeah, no, I just think Pep Guardiola, like, he's a good manager, but he's not used to losing often. And in the Premier League, you're gonna lose matches, and I feel like every game he plays is gonna be hard. And when his team doesn't win by a big margin, or they come close to losing, or they do lose, he has kind of a small time, and that's what I don't like about him. You got to be prepared to take losses in the Premier League
I just feel
because it's
like
gonna come. You can't.
yeah. I just feel he's a he's a bit of some people call him Pep Fraudiola, but I feel like he's a manager who's come into the Premier League thinking that the Premier League is going to be adjusting to him instead of the other way around. He thought he's going to revolutionize the
Yeah,
Premier League with this playing like this great, beautiful football. But he has to realize that the Premier League is a different league to others. You need to be good defensively, which
yeah,
they clearly aren't this season. Mainly, I'm not sure if
yeah,
that's because of the system or because of the actual players there. I mean, John Stones hasn't impressed me at all this season so far. Um,
yeah, definitely. Those goals he gives away when he passes it back
yeah,
and it goes straight to the striker. That's happened like 2-3 times now, and it's just pain to watch.
yeah, I
As
mean, and
a
also like playing Kolarov at center back. I mean, I don't get that. I don't understand that
Yeah,
system.
he's got to find his first.
Yeah,
He's definitely got to find his first team. This rotation doesn't seem to be working too well
yeah, but I
right
feel I
now.
feel once he gets the right players into this team, I feel once he gets rid of all the sort of the deadwood, the Kolarovs, the maybe the Zabaletas,
Yeah,
the maybe the Sanyas, etc. When he gets rid of
yeah.
those players and he brings in the right people, I think they'll start to click. But definitely they need to improve defensively. De Bruyne in terms of
And
going
that keeps
forward, yeah.
Bravo has
Oh
also
yeah, bravo.
Claudio
Yeah,
Bravo
bravo.
has been so disappointing.
Yeah,
I one of the things I don't want to be sound mean here, but I feel like he's too small to be a keeper in the Premier League and too kind of weedy because so many times he's jumped up for the ball and like it's just
yeah.
been knocked out of his hand.
Yeah,
Or
because in
he's just
Spain, that's not how he's used to playing in Spain. Because in Spain,
yeah, exactly.
sort of the goalkeeper is a part of the part of the team, not for shot stop. Well, obviously for shot stopping, but not as like he passes from the back. But yeah, Bravo has been definitely one of the worst keepers I would say this season. And
Yeah, definitely.
I definitely think that Joe Hart would have definitely played better this season than him. Um, Going forward, I mean,
Can you see Joe Hart being brought back to
no.
Manchester City, or
No,
can you
no.
see him
I think
leaving
he's
this
gonna. I
summer?
think he's gonna leave. Definitely.
Yeah, I think he should also. Pep Guardiola didn't treat him well, and
Yeah.
he's the thing I like about him is he's not a player. I know Joe Hart sometimes has a reputation, like obviously when he was in the England and he was like swearing like "Give me
Yeah.
that fucking ball" and
Yeah.
stuff like that. He doesn't have a great reputation, but the thing I like about him is he loves the game and he loves playing. Like he even says to team like when he wanted to sign on for a team, he was like, you can even lower my salary and stuff like that. I really just want to play,
Yeah.
and that's what I like about him. He loves the game. He's
Then
not.
what shocked me the most about this season was that well, in terms of Man City, is that the apology from Yaya Toure and then how he's come back into this team. I mean, that's just been shocking for me, especially the apology from his agent, who is quite usually a very arrogant guy. He apologized, I think, through some sort of mail to Pep Guardiola, and yeah, to his apology. And right now, he's been quite crucial to the team. He scored a lot. He scored a couple or 3 or 4 goals, I think, this season.
Yeah.
For them.
And yeah, we can't talk about City without talking about Sergio Aguero. Obviously, he's having another season where he's scoring regularly, and he's still, for me, in my opinion, he might be the best striker in the Premier League. Like, he scores so often, and he's such a reliable striker.
Yeah, but obviously Aguero, he's quite a good striker. I mean, for the minutes he's played due to injuries or being dropped sometimes even by Pep Guardiola, I mean, he's probably, I would say, top 3 best players in the Premier League in terms of quality. I mean, you could definitely see him playing for like a Real Madrid or a Barcelona. I mean, he wouldn't look out of place there.
Yeah.
And then also they have De Bruyne, who I think is a fantastic player. I would definitely love for him to, like, if I had to pick one player to play for us from Manchester City in terms of United point of view, I know, but I would probably pick De Bruyne.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he was such a good signing. In Chelsea were stupid to let him go all those years ago. But yeah, he developed in Wolfsburg, and he's turned out to be an amazing player, really. And did you hear?
Yes.
Just a funny fact. At the start of the season, De Bruyne, because he's not, apparently De Bruyne doesn't like watching football that much. And apparently at the start of the season, and he's a really big fan of cooking and baking. Apparently at the start of the season, he brought cupcakes into his whole team because he'd been watching Bake Off. Yeah, no, but that's just. Yeah. I mean, yeah, but he's a nice guy. And but anyway, moving on.
No, wait 1 sec. I just wanted to mention one more player. What are your thoughts on Iheanacho? Do you think he's better than Rashford? Equal? Worse?
In my opinion, I think Rashford is better than Iheanacho, but obviously he's a very good player, and I feel like they should loan him out to maybe a lower down Premier League team where he will be playing regular football and he will be able to develop, because he does have the potential to score goals and stuff. But I feel like at City, if you're playing with it, he's always going to be behind Aguero for years to come, and he won't have time to develop there. So I feel like they should loan him out maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a good choice for him. I mean, if he's not getting consistent game time for behind Sergio Aguero, I mean, they should probably loan him out. I mean, so City, they definitely need improvement in terms of defensively, definitely need improvement and goalkeeping wise. But I feel once Pep Guardiola finds his sort of like, his main 11, that like these players always start unless there's some sort of injury. I think that then they can really kick on and sort of do better in the Premier League. But they're not doing bad right now. They could be doing better.
Yeah, they definitely could. Yeah. After compared to how they were playing this season right now. But yeah. Anyway, next team is in third place. We have Spurs. Now Spurs finished third. Oh yeah, they finished third last season. Arsenal finished above them again.
Yeah.
I feel like this season is finally going to be the season though that Spurs finish above Arsenal, because they're looking very strong.
Yeah.
Obviously, after their win against
Chelsea,
that was really great watching them.
Yeah, a great win against Chelsea. I mean, Dele Alli. Well, okay, let's start from the back. Lloris, for me, top 2, if not top 3 keepers in the Premier League, 100%.
Yeah, definitely among De Gea and Courtois.
Alderweireld, I rate him as one of the best center backs in Europe at this moment. I mean, he's just so crucial for Spurs.
I mean, the only time they really struggled this season was when Alderweireld was injured.
Yeah, exactly.
It just shows.
Vertonghen, he's okay. Danny Rose, I feel, has improved so much in the past 2 seasons. He's definitely, at this moment in time, England's best left back until Luke Shaw, or maybe not. Like if Luke Shaw if Luke Shaw just continues to be so injury prone and just the injuries keep stunting his career, I think Danny Rose definitely has that left back spot nailed on. Kyle Walker, again, one of the best right backs in the Premier League. Wanyama definitely brought something different to the Spurs midfield.
Yeah. One disappointment for me in the midfield has been Moussa Sissoko so far. I mean, he hasn't really assisted like twice, hasn't really scored. Yeah. I didn't even expect much of him. I don't know why they bought him, honestly.
Yeah, I think it was just sort of a panic buy,
I also, I mean, he did have a good Euros, but still, you
Yeah,
can't buy a player.
I mean,
He didn't have a very
it just shows like
successful.
Newcastle fans were just sort of happy to get rid of him because he was
Yeah,
just one of those players that only plays when he's like in the need of a contract or sort of needs more money. He starts playing well, so I don't really rate him at all, to be honest. Probably the one of the worst signings of the season considering the price they bought him for, 30 million.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, 30. I mean, 30. I mean, obviously, West Newcastle fans would be over the moon with
Yeah,
that. That's like it just doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, also I feel like Son, I think his name's Son
yeah,
Heung-min. I'll just call him Son.
yeah,
He should be getting more game time because he's been playing on the bench recently. But when he comes on, he seems to score.
yeah.
I feel like he should be starting more games.
Well, fun fact about Son is that obviously he's been having a good season so far. There was a run of games where he just kept on scoring and some great goals as well. But I feel like sorry, I heard that there's a rumor going around that due to him being South Korean, I think it's at the end of this season or the end of next season, he has to go back to the South Korea to participate in the army, like he's been forced to. So I feel like he's playing really well because he might just be um, just playing his best football before he leaves to South Korea.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean that'll be a real loss for them if
Yeah,
he has to go back.
yeah,
They'll suck,
yeah,
honestly.
yeah. Then they have
Jesus, you go from Premier League football to working in the army.
yeah. Then they have Moussa Dembele, who I honestly think he's probably one of the most underrated midfielders
Yeah,
in the Premier
definitely.
League. I mean, he
Um,
basically never loses the ball. He's so physical. He has a good passing range. He's really underrated in my opinion.
Yeah, there haven't been. I mean, Tottenham thing about them is they have really good. There haven't been too many disappointments apart from Sissoko and, in my opinion, up front, Janssen. I feel like Janssen has
Yeah,
really.
yeah. Janssen hasn't adapted to the Premier League so far. I mean, he could just be
Yeah,
Memphis Depay 2.0.
yeah, exactly. He's got a Memphis to fight
Yeah,
2.0. Yeah, he's got to adapt soon, or I think they'll get rid of him or
yeah,
loan him off because he hasn't been too impressive for me so far.
yeah,
And I hope he does because he was really good at AZ, but I mean,
yeah.
the way he's going now doesn't look like it. And obviously, he's going to have a lot of competition with Harry Kane,
Yeah,
their
yeah,
top
yeah,
goals.
obviously. But you know what?
Kane and
Harry Kane hasn't impressed me this season so far either. But to be honest, like last
yeah,
season, he might just be starting off slow. Last
yeah,
season, he wasn't that good at the start as well. So yeah, but for me, player of the season so far for Spurs has to be Dele Alli.
yeah,
I mean, starting from MK Dons just 2 years ago, when he was brought into Spurs, he wasn't even meant to be a starting midfielder. They meant on developing him.
yeah,
I mean, yeah. So Dele Alli, obviously, two crucial goals against Chelsea. He's been playing pretty well for England. One of their better players for Spurs. He's been quite crucial, scoring great goals, and he's really young. So I feel like he's definitely one of the better younger midfielders in the Premier League.
yeah, definitely. I mean, there was kind of an outcry because Alan Shearer said he can be like a future Frank Lampard. I mean,
Yeah,
I also think that's a bit stepping forward there, but
yeah,
he's definitely got a great future ahead of him, and
yeah.
I hope he goes somewhere with it. Like
I
definitely,
just hope the English media don't ruin him like the rest of the youngsters. Like they first they hype them up. They say, oh yeah, next Frank Lampard, etc.
yeah,
And then when he does poorly, they say, oh look, he's so bad. And then
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
It's kind of a shame.
yeah. So Dele Alli, I hope they don't break him down, like ruin him. Like
But anyway, now moving on to second place in the Premier League. This came as quite a surprise to everyone, but
yeah,
it's Liverpool, and some people say it's kind of down to the signings they got. I mean, they signed Mane, they signed Matip, who kind of stabilized. Even though the defense is still a bit shaky, he
yeah,
stabilized compared to last season where it's terrible.
yeah. So Liverpool.
Obviously,
Yeah, sorry, continue.
one thing one thing we need to talk about there. The first thing is I said before, we got to talk about it. It's the goalkeeping situation
Oh
because
yeah, yeah,
obviously Karius was disappointing, and Mignolet is also he makes errors. I mean, I feel like obviously Karius did make a few mistakes, but I still think he's a better keeper than Mignolet.
yeah,
I feel like they're going to bring him back into the starting lineup in a few weeks. He's just got to get his confidence back and everything.
He actually played today. He actually played today in the FA Cup. I'm not sure what was the result in that game, but
it was 0-0. It was 0-0 versus Plymouth. I mean, they're playing all Liverpool's youngsters, so I guess for them that's an okay result. I mean, he kept a clean sheet, which is good for him, and that's obviously going to give him some confidence. So hopefully towards the end of the season, I like him personally.
Yeah.
I hope he.
But he's not that young anymore. Like he's not a young keeper, so he should definitely be saving some of the shots that have been put have been put against him this season.
Yeah.
So the keeping situation definitely needs to be sorted out. I think that I don't think it's actually the goalkeepers. I mean, if you look past through ever since Pepe Reina left from Liverpool, I don't think they've had one good keeper. And I think that that may be down to the goalkeeping coach. I think, the goalkeeping coach may have to leave Liverpool as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's obviously, and also Jurgen Klopp, he's turning things around. He said he has a 7-year plan for the club. Can you see them winning the title this season or in the future?
Well, I mean, if we say that United are in the title race, I mean, why can't we say Liverpool is? I mean, they're obviously closer. So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, they could definitely win it this season.
They just got to stop. They just got to stop slipping up against these Sunderland and Burnley. They've got to stop slipping up against these kind of mediocrity because they're beating the big teams.
Yeah.
But they just got to stop slipping against the smaller teams, and definitely they can win the Premier League.
Yeah.
Obviously, they got a bit lucky because they tied Sunderland, but then Chelsea lost.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so goalkeeping situation we're talking about. The defending has been shocking sometimes. Like if you look at some of the goals that they conceded, it was just complete mess at the back. I really like Klein. It's starting to get a bit better.
Nathaniel Klein, obviously, he's a great player.
Yeah.
Future, he's definitely starting in right back.
I mean,
in my opinion, he's great.
In my opinion, they definitely need a left back. I mean, Milner's good, but he's definitely not a left back. Moreno is just terrible. I don't.
What about Alberto Moreno?
Yeah, Moreno's terrible. But I feel like
Moreno, the best left back ever, and they had Jose Enrique. They had the two shittest left backs ever.
Yeah. Then they what else? Yeah. So they definitely need a left back. They definitely might need left back definitely. Maybe another centre
striker.
back.
They might because Mane.
Yeah.
Maybe another striker. Danny Ings has been out because of injury. Hopefully, when he comes back, he's good. Mane has definitely, in my opinion, been their best player so far this season. 9 goals, top goal scorer.
Yeah, definitely. Sturridge, he may be out the club. So they definitely might need a striker. I mean, Origi has been impressing. Oh, Adam Lallana as well. He's been one of the key
That's the thing I like about their midfield is just the thing I like about their midfield is they've all got such good. Obviously, Coutinho's injured now, but there was Coutinho, Lallana, Firmino, and Mane, and they just attacked in packs. They scored. They were just they were really they're deadly. One of the best midfielders in the Premier League, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Possibly the best.
Yeah, definitely about that. What else? So Liverpool, I mean, Mane has been definitely their best player this season, in my opinion, followed by Lallana, then Firmino, then Coutinho. I feel like Wijnaldum also has been quite solid this season when he's played. Emre Can can sort of fill in the role of the holding midfielder sometimes. So Liverpool have had a really good season so far. If they just get the results, the crucial results, the standard, the 2-0 wins against the bottom teams. If they just can get those wins on the table, I think they're definitely in for a shot to win the title.
Yeah, definitely. So now moving on to the first place team, Chelsea. They've won 16, drawn 1, and lost only 3. What are your thoughts? Do you think they're going to continue and go on and win the Premier League?
I mean, Chelsea for me has been probably the shock package considering from what they came from last season. I mean, definitely no European football has definitely helped them this season. They only focus on one game at a time, just keep training for one game. Antonio Conte, I mean, what a manager. I mean, after his it's been a decent run for Italy. I mean, considering the players he had, it was a quite good run for him with the Italian national team. I mean, he's come here.
Yeah.
He started life quite shaky. He lost against Liverpool. He lost against Arsenal. And those games, I think they told him to go back to the drawing board, and then he sort of sort of formed this Chelsea team
I
that
mean,
sort of they have a really consistent team. So Courtois at the back, then they have Azpilicueta, Cahill,
and
Cahill,
Luis.
Azpilicueta, and David Luiz. Then they have Alonso and Moses at the on the flanks. Then they have Matic, Kante, or Fabregas, Kante, and then Costa, as well as what's his name? Yeah, so just basically Costa up front. So yeah, so that I feel is such a consistent.
Yeah, and the signings they made.
Oh yeah,
the signings they made also.
Yeah, so Costa, Willian,
have
and
been-
Hazard. Costa, Willian, and Hazard. That front three is really like deadly.
Yeah, and the signings they made have been playing like Conte. Obviously, I'm still sad he left last year.
Yeah. So Conte.
He's surprising. So a lot of people didn't expect him to be good, but he's been well. Marcos Alonso he hasn't been amazing, but he's been good.
Yeah.
Michi hasn't been too good, but they haven't needed him to be too good because they have Costa.
Yeah.
So I mean, so things are, and like honestly, a lot of people were criticizing them for the recent loss against Spurs, but honestly, I mean, they won 12 matches in a row, and Spurs before the season, Chelsea Spurs is a game I'd expect Chelsea to have lost anyway, but people were surprised to see them lose. But I honestly was not that surprised.
Yeah. In terms of Hazard, I think now he's definitely showing the form that he was showing 2 seasons ago. On the left flank, he's definitely one of the probably top two probably best players in the Premier League at the moment. Then we have Diego Costa, again a top striker, for me top 5. Then they have probably the most improved player I've seen this season is Victor Moses. I mean,
we got to talk about him. Yeah. He's been on loan a bit everywhere. Liverpool, Stoke, West Ham.
Yeah.
And they finally gave him his chance, and he took it, which is.
Yeah, I mean, Antonio Conte sort of revitalized him as that sort of attacking wing back that he is at this moment. I mean, he's been basically unstoppable, scoring a lot of goals for Chelsea this season, and assisting quite a few. Then we have. Willian has been sort of in and out of the team. I feel like maybe they will need to sign a new right mid. If that's possible for Conte in January. And also, so Diego Costa, top scorer in the Premier League, probably, one of the better players in the Premier League. Chelsea, I mean, solid, definitely the team to beat at the moment. 13 wins in a row is something unbelievable. Only the Arsenal Invincibles were able to do that. If Chelsea just forget about this Spurs game, I mean, it was going to happen eventually. They're going to lose the game. But if they just forget about this game and just keep carrying on as they were before, I feel like they are definitely currently favorites still for the title.
Yeah, definitely. I guess that's the end of the league. Breakdown.
So let's just take a few moments just like to go through sort of our mid-season awards. So who do you think has been the best player so far this season?
Best player so far, that's a tough one. So far, it has been Sanchez. I mean, I feel like he's been so crucial for Arsenal. Without him, they would be, in my opinion, they would be kind of screwed. Like he scores, he assists, he's so dangerous on the ball. But for you, who's your best player?
For me at the moment, it has to be Diego Costa. I mean, top scorer in the Premier League, so crucial for Chelsea. Some of the most crucial goals. I mean, some of the 1-0s they've just been down to Costa. So for me, it has to be Costa so far in the season. Okay, so next award, let's talk about who do you think is the most improved player in the Premier League?
Most improved player, definitely for me. This is a tough one, but we were just talking about him, and I'm going to say Victor Moses. Yeah. No, I mean, I'd say Victor Moses because I'm actually kind of happy for him because, I mean, Chelsea weren't really giving him a chance. He was being loaned out, and finally, when he was given his chance, he showed it, and now he's been so good for Chelsea, and no one really expected it. So, well done to him.
Yeah, Victor Moses for me definitely again. I mean, considering from what he's come from, he was when Conte came in, everyone was like, okay, either another loan or he's going to be completely sold. But Conte, he gave him a chance, and he put him into this new formation, and then he's just thrived ever since. So yeah, for me, it has to be Victor Moses. But also honorable mention for me has to go to what's his name, the player for. For me, since I'm a United fan, I watch United a lot of football. For me, it has to be Ander Herrera, one of the more improved players this season. Mainly because last season, the 2 seasons under Van Gaal, he was just so inconsistent in terms of his football and also in terms of the way he was played in the team. Sometimes he was on the bench, sometimes playing attacking midfielder, sometimes playing holding midfielder. So it was really inconsistent. But this season, Mourinho has sort of put him in this role, sort of just slightly higher up than Carrick, but still not as attacking as Pogba. And that role has certainly complemented him well because, as we've seen from stats, we could see he has more interceptions this season than N'Golo Kante. Basically playing the same amount of minutes, which is quite shocking considering the player quality of Kante. The quality of the player that Kante is. So yeah, for me it could be either Victor Moses or Ander Herrera.
Yeah.
So next award, who do you think is the manager of the season so far?
I mean, a lot of people would give it to Conte because of his performance with Chelsea, but I mean, me personally, I think I'd probably give it to. I know a lot of people might disagree with me. Tell us what you think in the comments below. Because really so impressed with how they played, with the players they have, and he's such an honest manager, and he knows what they're doing well and wrong, and he's had the experience of getting relegated with the team, and he's learned from that, which is so which for me that shows signs of a good manager. Once he got relegated, he knew what.
Sorry, and you were cut off. Which manager did you say?
I said it was Sean Dyche.
Oh, Sean.
Because
really, Sean Dyche.
Yeah, because I'd say one thing. I mean, a lot of people maybe not have noticed. I feel like because he got relegated previously, he learned from that, and that just shows signs of a really good manager. Because learning from the relegation, now they're doing so well, and he knows what he has to do to stay up. And he's like a nice, honest manager, and I feel like definitely I hope they stay in the Premier League, and I think so far they've been doing enough.
Yeah, for me it has to be Antonio Conte, 100%. I mean, 13 games in a row. It's incredible from what the Chelsea team came from. I mean, he has just come into the Premier League and took it by storm. I mean, he's quite an emotional manager, which I like to see in the Premier League. I hate these like managers like Wenger who just sit on the bench and then just sort of they're motionless. They have no emotion. So Antonio Conte for me. Okay, moving on. Who do you think has scored goal this season so far?
Is this final award?
It's one of the last ones.
Goal of the season so far. Wilfred. I really liked what's his name, Wilfred Zaha. He scored a great goal. I can't remember who it was against, but even Pardew afterwards, he was. I mean, Wilfred Zaha obviously he's been so, but he dribbled past the whole freaking defense, put it in, and you need a player like that in the team. And that goal for me, that was beautiful. I really it, for me it was. It was goals.
You were rated higher than Mkhitaryan and Giroud's scorpion kick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly not I'm not a big fan of the scorpion kick. I know a lot of people will give me shit for that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I liked it because he Mkhitaryan and Giroud, obviously those are amazing feats. They were both beautiful things. Zaha went past 4 or 5 players, and it was to me it blew me off the feet.
Okay. Yeah, but for me, it's hard for me to say this, but I would probably say Giroud for goal this season. I mean, Mkhitaryan was again one of the better ones. Probably my second best goal this season. But Giroud, I mean, just the way that Arsenal built up that goal, it was sort of no player took more than 2 touches in that build up. They intercepted the ball in their half, ran across the other side, and then you could just see Giroud just running from the halfway line like he's never run before. And then Sanchez with a beautiful cross into him, and Giroud. With some people say it's a lucky finish, some people say it don't, but I just like just the way it went off the crossbar, and then I think it was just a beautiful goal. And yeah, so
I think is that all we have time for?
Just two more awards left. 2 more awards left.
Okay.
So who do you think has been the most crucial player for their team? Not the best player necessarily, but the most crucial for their respective team.
Me, I would say, I think you know what I'm going to say here. I'm going to say Jordan Pickford because the saves he's pulled off for Sunderland this season, like from watching the games, he pulls them off at such, as I said before, he pulls them off at the most crucial moments when they need it. And for me, he's literally been the reason why they've gotten wins, why they've gotten points, and it's because of the things he's done, the saves he's made. And you can also argue from that team, it could also be Defoe for the goals he scored, and I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
But for me, it's been Pickford because Defoe's been scoring the goals, but Pickford has been keeping those goals out, and the goals out which would cause a tie or a loss. So definitely for me, it's Jordan Pickford.
For me, I'm gonna have to say N'Golo Kante for Chelsea. He's one of those players that it's just so hard to describe him, but in terms of what he does, but when he does it, players seem to appreciate so much. I mean, some of the players from Chelsea and both Leicester have appreciated his work so much. They say it's much easier to play with him. He gives them the ball so often. He picks it up sort of in the middle of the field, and he makes those crucial passes. So for me, it has to be N'Golo Kante. He's been one of the few. Yeah. He's been one of the reasons Chelsea have been so good this season.
Yeah. Okay.
The final award, Wanker of the Year. Who do you think it is?
Wanker of the Year. For me, Wanker of the Year has been Mike Phelan. I really don't like Mike Phelan because when he comes out of the games, he's so like cocky and full of himself. And when you're a manager at such a low team and like your team is playing shit,
yeah.
he comes out into the press conference and acts as if he's won the game sometimes. And I really don't like his attitude. And he knew they were a struggling team, and he really didn't help. He didn't help being the way he was at Hull. I'm kind of glad he got sacked and they brought in Marco Silva, because honestly, Marco Silva, he's much more humble than Mike. He knows what to do. And Mike Phelan, he was just the assistant manager before. What did he do? What did he do in his time there? He won like 2 games at the start, 1 game during the season, and he did jack shit else. So like he should not be so cocky. It's really not good for the team, and it doesn't have a good influence on the players.
For me, it definitely has to be Alan Pardew. I mean, that dance that he did in the FA Cup final, I mean, that just summed him up completely. He
is. Alan Pardew is also. I was about to say him, but I was like, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's accumulated the least amount of points out of any team in the English divisions. I mean, he's just made the joke of himself. I mean, nobody respects him as a manager anymore. He's now rumored to be joining an Australian team. So for me, it has to be Alan Pardew.
Yeah. But Anyway.
Yeah, so guys, thank you for
this
listening.
Podcast. This is our very first podcast. Yeah. Tell us if there's anything you think we can be doing better or not be doing. You know, tell us if you want us to talk about any other aspects of the league. I think from now on, we're just going to be talking about the games which took place each weekend and who our favorite players were.
Yeah.
Let's.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for listening, and see you next time on the Premier League Forum.
Yeah. We'll see you next time.